Thank you, and thank you for being here, Kip. Kip, I'm gonna begin with, can you tell me a little bit about your most recent role as the Civic Innovator at Harvard, and are you enjoying it?
During the response, I got to be in charge in a way that you normally don't get to be in the city. Lee Wilcox, my counterpart, and I really ran the team of teams that is the Emergency Operations Center and really got to respond at scale. And I was, like many of us, exhausted. And at the end of what knew I was capable of without degrading. And I also knew it was time for me to walk away from being the general and give that persona some time to retire. And so what I've been able to do, I'm on sabbatical now with working with Harvard and David Ricketts there, and really just take a step back and think about what is it we've all been through. And also to learn from other cities like Dublin, what has changed. And I believe that this pandemic not only has been a public health sea change, but has been an economic sea change, and certainly in terms of innovation and digital work, has fundamentally changed the way that we work and we think about work in cities. And what that means, I don't think we know yet. So part of what I'm trying to do for myself and for others is to get a sense of what are the changes that are going to stick, and what does that mean for the future of cities and the future of innovation.
Awesome. And what most excites you about this role?
What's most exciting about this role is actually not being responsible for the doing and realizing and getting a chance to reflect on the brilliance and the genius of others. And to step back and to see the enormous creativity, passion, and talent of public servants across the globe, really, and how much they have stepped up. I think it's really changed what local government thinks they are capable of and what others think local government is capable of. And I think that's very positive. And so the most powerful part of this has been meeting with people across the United States and across Europe at this point, and hearing and learning from them. And I just love it. It re-inspires me to do the work that we do.
Awesome. And you spoke about the role of digital and technology. Can you speak a little bit more about how you see those roles?
Well, I think, many cities and local governments have been very traditional, very paper-based, very bureaucratic in the way they do things. And we can get away with that because we're natural monopolies, right? If you don't like the way that Sears and Roebuck is doing something, you can go and buy something from Amazon. If you don't like the way City of Dublin is doing something, you have to up and move and vote with your feet to change and get a different city. And so it's a lot harder to change cities than it is to change your retailer. And so cities can get away with old and archaic practices. And I think that this pandemic and our need to work remote has suddenly shown us that, you know what, for those of us in the office, much of what we can do can and should be done digitally. And once you start to accept that and embrace that, as you know, digital really builds on itself. The power of digital isn't, oh, I'm doing this one thing. It's when you start to do 5 or 6 different things digitally, and then they begin to talk to each other. And the cumulative value creates things that never existed before. To give you a concrete example, because I've gotten very abstract, City of San Jose, we have a traffic control system which turns our traffic signals lights on and off. We have a computer-aided dispatch which dispatches our fire and police vehicles at different priority responses. And we have a fleet maintenance and vehicle monitoring set of software which tells us where our vehicles are, how much gas they have, what conditions their engines are on. Each of those is a digital system, and each of those created value when we added it as a digital system. The real power and opportunity comes when you can get those systems to talk to each other. So for example, we're able to have all 3 of those systems talk to each other, and now when a fire or police vehicle is on a top priority call, driving through an intersection, the traffic light turns green for them. That saves them response time. It makes their travel to the fire or the emergency incident much, much safer, and for them and for other folks around them. And that's a purely digital solution that's only possible when you've digitized your service delivery across multiple lines. And so I think that points to the future. And if cities have 264 services that they do, and if in 5 years they can have 264 services that are digital, that are talking to each other, they can do not only those services, but things they haven't even imagined. And that's what I'm hopeful for about the digital future, that we're right at that point where it's going from hype to possibility.
Awesome. And Kip, as you know, we work with a lot of cities that are more on the smaller and medium size.
Yeah.
And sometimes they say, where do they begin? They have challenges in terms of they don't hold the specific data, maybe at the county side.
Right.
Or there is a department that holds the data, like you said, it doesn't speak to the other department. How does a city get started with this type of work?
Yeah, what problem you work on is one of the most important questions to ask and answer. I think visually often, and I think of a Venn diagram, and in this case it's three circles that overlap. One circle is, what are the problems that are causing a lot of people pain or annoyance? Not just one or two people who happen to have the number of the mayor, but a lot of people pain or annoyance. Second circle in the Venn diagram, what is core to your organization? For us, it's the city of San Jose, so we ask what should the city of San Jose be doing? What is core to our mission? And then the third circle is one that we don't usually give ourselves, which is, can that problem be improved at scale with process improvement, technology, or both? And if the answer is yes, 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 then you have a problem that is important to people, it's what you should be doing, and you can actually potentially solve it. That's the sweet spot you want to be in, especially at the very beginning of your digital transformation work or your innovation work. And then that will give you a list of maybe 50 or 60 problems like that. You rank those, we have different prioritization methods, and you start with the one that gives you the best bang for the buck and is most achievable. You learn from that one, and then you begin to scale into others, if you have the luxury. A lot of the cities you work with didn't have the luxury of being that picky and plunged right into the pandemic. But if you look, I think some of the successful examples of the work that you all have done fit that model. Super important. I've got to figure out where to put my vaccines. Core to what the city does. Oh yeah, that's my responsibility now. Solvable with technology at scale? Yes, if I can get good way of onboarding people or getting them appointments or good data that helps me do that. So I think the way that I have seen you and your teams work really fits with that model and gives smaller cities and medium-sized cities a great point of departure.